Good morning, everyone. I hope you had a fantastic week and are ready to kick off another week of high productivity and winning habits. Let's take a second and review kind of the worksheet itself, and then we'll move forward, talk about our plan for next week. But the theme for this week really is visualization. So I hit you guys earlier today with a bomb video about visualization. It's probably something we need to work into every single day. So I actually added it to your checklist, if you notice. This is a great way to check off a success box. It's pretty easy to do. It doesn't take a long time, but it's really key to us getting our brain retrained to think differently, to think more like the winners that we are, that we just haven't unleashed yet. So we're not going to show any mercy. We're going to start unleashing these winners that are inside of us. We start it by visualizing. We start it by really thinking and creating an experience for our brain to latch onto. That's this experience of success, this feeling of joy, this feeling of pride. Let's talk about the review first, though. So what you should have done is, through the week, you should have checked those success boxes on the front side of the sheet. As you check them, you should have gone to the back side of the sheet and written in that exercise under the general time that you did it. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be exact. We're just looking for a sort of a summary of your week. Where did I spend my time? Did I spend more time on important things or non-important things? So front side of the sheet, as we go down each day, we check off these boxes. We check the boxes of success, okay? Down at the bottom is our weekly sort of exercise. And so last week we talked about the toolkit, and we talked about getting all of these things prepared. So as we move forward in the future weeks, you know, everybody's at the same place. And some of you might have a much more mature Facebook page or a much more mature LinkedIn. That doesn't matter. But the baseline is we have all the tools that we need. Business cards. I mean, it shocks me. Every week I go out and I meet people in the industry and I ask for their business card, and less than half of them have business cards on them. So we have to find a way to have those things available, because we just never know when we're going to run into that person that wants to do business. So we have our top sheet. You're checking off your boxes of success. You have your weekly exercises that you should do on Sunday that get you ready for the week. Flip that over. We have our review. The back side of the sheet is a review of the week. We look at that calendar and we say, how did we spend our time? Did we spend enough time doing critical activities? What does that look like? I'm going to move something here real quick. Okay. What does that look like? Did we spend more time with our more boxes full than empty? Because that's really our goal. And I know that we have some, you know, the time frame within that is pretty long. So we may have some personal stuff in there that didn't show up that was critical. You know, maybe you have a prayer group, or maybe you have a kids function at the school that you wouldn't want to miss, and that's a critical activity for your life, and that's okay. Maybe you just put a little check mark in that box, so you know to yourself that you're spending time on super important things. However you want to do that. But that review really is for you just to glance at your week and say, did I do enough? Could I have done more? Because that's really the key. Is time gets away from us and life gets in the way, and we start losing hours and start losing days because stuff comes up, and we're never really hyper focused on checking those success boxes and putting them onto the calendar. And the more you do that, the more you find that your week gets filled up with important things. And the more important things you do, the more likely you are to get the results that you're looking for. The bottom section of that is really, really key for you. So you can either do this late Saturday, Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, whatever works, but we want this part done to go into next week. And that is, what wins did I have? Because we really have to congratulate ourselves, and we really have to reward ourselves for these wins. And however you want to do that, maybe you treat yourself to Starbucks, maybe you read your favorite book, go to a movie, whatever that is, you figure out your reward system. If you want to help talking about that, you guys, I'm always available for that type of stuff. We can do it in the next live meeting too. But we have to understand what our wins were. We have to understand what we did really well this week. Because most of our job is difficult. Most of our job is not wins. And so when we get the wins, we have to really look for them. And we have to really celebrate them. And if you're not looking for your wins, you can get a little bit of beat down and discouraged, and then you stop doing important activities, because generally the important activities are kind of difficult. So we just want to make sure that we're celebrating those wins. Okay? Next is, what challenges did we face? What held me back this week? Was it beliefs? Was it attitude? Was it activity, right? Was I not in control of my schedule? Did I lose control of a client interaction and it went off sideways and it took too long and I didn't get the result that I wanted? And so one of the modules that we're going to be going through is going to talk about your activity, your attitude, controlling the client interface, and how to repeat all of our successful behaviors. But right now, we just need to look at what did I struggle with last week? What was the hard things for me last week? What did I lose at? What could I have done better? Because the final section on the backside is, what are my critical activities for next week? And what that means is, maybe you have a closing. That's a beautiful, beautiful closing, right? It's a great activity. It's a win. So we already know going into next week, we probably have a win. But when I'm talking about these critical activities for next week, what I'm really talking about is, I take these things that I did well. How do I repeat them? How do I do them again? And these challenges that we have, all of us have them, everybody. How do we eliminate them, or how do we mitigate them? How do we minimize them? And so when I talk about critical activities for next week, I talk about a plan going into next week. Obviously, I have my checklist of success. I'm going to check as many boxes as I can. But I also want to pay critical attention to, how do I do more of the wins? How do I get more wins that I had last week? And how do I eliminate some of those losses? Because that's really sort of the key in the repetition and building the habits of success. And so as we go in each week and we see what our wins are, and we plan for those wins the following week, see what our challenges are, and we eliminate those challenges for the next week, what happens is, little by little, gradually, we start developing these habits of success where we're doing more of the critical activities that yield results and less of the activities that challenge us. And that's really the spot that we want to be, is to be in this ultra high performance state where our attitude is amazing and it's high. We're spending our time on the right things, the things that matter, the things that are important to getting us to this double sales, quadruple sales, 10 times sales, whatever that number is for you. But we want to spend time. We want to be intentional about checking those boxes because they're important. We want to eliminate anything that either prevents us from checking a box or doesn't check a box. And it's that simple. Spend your time checking boxes. Don't spend your time on activities that either don't check a box or, heaven forbid, you have to eliminate the things that prevent you from checking boxes. And that's what that backside of the sheet is about. How do I check more boxes? How do I eliminate the things that prevented me from checking boxes? Okay, so that's kind of how last week went down. Now let's talk a little bit about the week going forward. And you have your new sheet. A little bit later today, they'll come in with this video. I'm having major computer problems right now. So my challenge for this week was, I had huge computer issues. My laptop crashed, and so I'm scrambling to figure out a new laptop and recover all the stuff on my old laptop. My other challenge is, didn't back up enough. So these are things that are going to go into my next week is, okay, I'm going to get a new laptop. I'm going to get a backup system so that when I move forward, I never have to put that same challenge on my sheet again. That's how it works, okay? So we're going to get into next week, which is your worksheet. And the worksheet itself is focused on visualization this week. And so it's going to ask you to do a couple of things with regard to visualization. Go ahead and knock those out today. But I also added visualization to your check sheet. And so it's an easy box to check, and it's something that we should get in the habit of doing every day, okay? And here's how it works. Our belief system, all of our fears, all of the things that we look forward to are based on what our brain perceives as what's right, what's true, what's believable for our brain. That becomes believable because of our history. It becomes believable because of experiences and or education. So when we talk about expanding that fence of our capability, expanding what our brain can believe, we can go out and we can experience it, right? So if I say, I want my brain to experience double sales, one way to do that is actually double my sales. And then my brain will expand its fence, and it will believe that that can be done. The challenge is, if we could regularly double our sales, we probably would have already done it. And so our brain sort of doesn't believe that even when it happens. We have to do it multiple times. Well, an amazing substitute is, if we can visualize with enough vivid passion about it and enough detail, our brain will actually start to believe that those are experiences, this subconscious part of our brain. So we can sort of trick our brain into some experiences. And that's really, really important, because the more of those references we give our brain, the more it becomes believable. The more it's believable for our brain, the more our brain, the active part of our brain, will work on all of the things that it takes to make that a reality. Because our brain, once it believes something, wants to keep that belief. That's what's known and what's safe for our brain. So when we expand that fence, and our sales are double, our sales are quadruple, our sales are 10 times the amount, then our brain starts working on all of the reasons and all of the methods and all of the techniques that it takes to get to double sales, quadruple sales, 10 times sales, right? And that's why there are people out there who do those quadruple sales, 10 times sales, because their brain's working on a different level. Their brain is working on meeting the reality of 10 times sales. So all we need to do is we need to just make that little shift and every single day visualize. The more you do it, the faster your brain gets experience. The more vivid it is, the more detailed it is, the more believable it is for your brain. So we're going to go back to the BombBomb videos working on changing that limiting belief, but this sort of fits hand in hand with it, because part of changing that belief and